So, kamusta naman po lahat?
Okay lang po.
Okay lang. Natok pa ba?
Hindi naman po.
So,
Baka siguro
ay na po.
baka siguro po ano din, 'yan naantok kasi may midterms pa po kami mamayang dalawa.
Anong oras?
Ano po, 3 to 5 po.
Sige, mahaba pa naman yung oras. Mapag-aral pa kayo. So, magandang practice pala ito sa inyo. So, anong exam yun mamaya?
Major po, yung cultural diversity at saka ergonomics.
So, medyo pa-essay din siya. So, kung pa-essay yun, let's practice your reasoning this morning. Let's practice your creative thinking. So, I have here some riddles for you to answer. So, ano lang tayo para ano-ano lang yung utak natin. So, this is the case. Wednesday, Tom and Joe went to a restaurant and ate dinner. When they were done, they paid for the food and left. But Tom and Joe didn't pay for the food. So, who do you think pays for the food?
Wednesday?
Okay, ang bilis naman. Narinig ko na pa yung mga gantong riddle dati.
Hindi.
Narinig na, no? Wait nga, sino to? So, let's look for another riddle, Morgan Train. So, next riddle is like this. So, the police are called to a roundhouse where a man is found dead with a knife wound to the chest. So, the police investigate and narrow down the suspect to 3 people. The maid, the wife, and the butcher. When questioned for alibis, the wife said, I was out buying a dress with friends and I found my husband dead upon my return. The butcher said, I was searching for cupboards for some vegetables to serve for lunch. And lastly, the maid said, I was the other room dusting the corner. So the maid was arrested. How did the police know it was her? Ay, nagbabasa kayo. Paano po nalaman ng police na it was the maid? Ano ba tulak yan? Wait admit ko lang ito. So, yun po. Dami. Paano po nalaman ng police yung maid po yung aarestuhin? Nabasa na po.
Sir? Ano, sir?
Ano po?
Kasi yung roundhouse daw, sir, tapos ang dahilan ng yaya is nasa corner daw siya.
Yes, it is right. Kaya po siya inaresto ng police because nasa roundhouse po nakatira yung asawa. So, yung reasoning po ni maid is naglilinis po siya ng corner. So, wala naman pong corner sa roundhouse. So, that's correct. And lastly, you live in a one-story house made entirely of wood. What color would be the stairs be? So, ano pong kulay?
Wala po.
Ano pong sagot ng iba? Ano pong sagot ng iba? Ano pong kulay? Hello? So, may I know the reason why? Bakit
Sabi niyo po kasi one-story house. So,
yes. Napaka-imposible po magkaroon ng stairs kapag one story lang. So at least nagkaroon po tayo ng practice sa utak po natin early this morning. So let's proceed to our proper discussion. We're going to discuss wait lang, ad-limit natin to. So ilan na tayo? 16. Recorded na ba? Recorded layout 49. So yes, let's proceed to operations and management of entrepreneur organization. So this is a 3-part discussion. So this is the first part. So after the completion of the chapters, you should be able to, number 1, identify the influences on organizational architecture. Second, to understand the barriers to corporate entrepreneurship. Next, to analyze the changes in effectiveness. Fourth one, to understand the political and organizational actions for change. And lastly, to define people-oriented actions. So ito po yung table of contents. Ayun din po yung nakapalaman doon. So, the best, most efficient, most profitable way to operate a business is to give everybody in the company a voice in saying how the company is run and a stake in the financial outcome, good or bad. So, maganda po na pagbibigyan po natin ng boses yung mga empleyado po natin kung magkakaroon man tayo or nagbabalak tayo mag-business. So, a business should be run like an aquarium where everybody can see what's going on, what's going in, what's going around, and what's coming out. So that's the only way to make sure people understand what you're doing and why. And have some input into deciding where you are going. Then, when the unexpected happens, they know how to react and react quickly. So, kung alam po ng employees nyo kung paano yung takbo ng business nyo at kung sinasama nyo po sila sa decision making or sa iba't ibang aspect sa business nyo, pagka nagkaroon po ng risk and crisis, alam po nila kung paano sila mag-respond in a way quickly and alam po nila kung ano po yung tamang respond na mangyayari. So this is by Jack Stack. So number 1 is influences on organizational architecture. So although many things can affect the choice of an appropriate structure for an organization, the following 5 factors are the most common. So we're going to discuss the size, life cycle, strategy, environment, and technology. So, number 1, organizational size. So, the larger an organization becomes, the more complicated its structure. Katulad ng SM, ng Robinson, ng PALS, ng Pacific. When an organization is small, such as a single retail store, a 2-person consulting firm, or a small restaurant, coffee shop, milk tea houses, its structure can be simple. So, small organizations are very often organic systems. When we talk about organic systems, it is the one that is very flexible and able to adapt well to changes. So its structure is identified as having a little job specifications, few layers of management, decentralized decision making, and not much direct supervision. Or we call this one the decentralized approach. So ito po yung organic organization na sinasabi natin na baka ito yung samples ng managers lang, owner lang ng business, head lang ng isang staff lang for kitchen, isang staff lang for dining. So ayun po yung si organic approach. Masyadong konti pa lang po yung tao nila and job specification is very little. As an organization grows, however, it becomes increasingly difficult to manage without more formal work assignments and some delegations of authority. Therefore, large organizations develop formal structures. Visible po siya sa malalaking organizations. So tasks are highly specialized. And detailed rules and guidelines dictate work procedures. Interorganizational communications flows primarily from superior to subordinates. And iba't ibang hierarchy po ang napagdadaanan ng pagka malalaking malalaking company na po. So meron na po yung CEO, magkakaroon minsan niya ng resident manager for a hotel at makikita natin yung iba't ibang vice presidents or directors in charge for each department. And under those departments, iba't iba pang managers and supervisors. So that is one example of a large organizations working for a development of formal structures. Next is organizational life. So organizations like humans tend to progress through stages known as a life cycle. Like humans, most organizations go through the following 4 stages. We're going to discuss birth, youth, midlife, and maturity. So each stage has characteristics that have implication for structures of the firm. So when discussing about birth, a firm is just beginning. Nagsisimula pa lang po si business. An organization in the birth stage does not have yet a formal structure. In a young organization, there's not much delegation of authority. So, the founder usually calls the shots. So, kung sino po yung pinaka-may-ari ng business, siya po talaga yung nagkakaroon ng decision making. So, also, katulad po sa human race. So, pagka bagong panganak pa lang po tayo, of course, wala po tayong responsibilities sa bahay natin. So, hindi lang umiyak, maglaro, at umiyak na at maglaro lang po talaga. So, it is also like a business. So, wala po talaga tayong decision-making power and wala tayong delegation of authority po talaga. So, next is youth. In this phase, the organization is trying to grow. The emphasis in this stage is becoming larger. Habang kung tumatagal yung business, mas lumalaki at mas lumalaki. So the company shift its attention to becomes more organic in structure during this phase. It is during this phase that the formal structure is designed and some delegation of authority occurs. Makikita mo na yung development, nagkakaroon na ng accounting department or di kaya marketing, mas na-establish na kung ano yung job specification and job orientation mo talaga para sa trabaho, sa business na yon. So next is midlife. So this phase occurs when organization has achieved a high level of success. An organization in midlife is larger, with a more complex and increasingly formal structure. So more levels appear in chain of command, and the founder may have difficulty remaining in control. Kasi madami na nagpapatakbo. Ikaw ngayon nasa top, pero of course, the decision process relies really on your directors, your vice presidents, and to your presidents and CEOs. Lastly is maturity. Once a firm has reached the maturity phase, it tends to become less innovative, less interested in expanding, and more interested in maintaining itself in a stable and secure environment. Ayun po yung nakikita natin sa mga malalaking businesses right now. Hindi na po sila masyado nakikipag-compete. Ang ginagawa na lang po nila, stability, and dapat secure po nila yung environment nila. Kasi nasa taas na po sila ng stage of business nila. Pero yung iba pong ginagawa is next is for 5 common factors is strategy. So the question is how an organization is going to position itself in market in terms of its product is considered its strategy. So I think you're done already with your marketing. So this terminologies is napagdaanan nyo na din naman kahit papaano. So mas madali siyang explain at mas madali siyang sabihin. So a company may decide to be always the first in the market with the newest and the best product. So this is called differentiation strategy. Or it may decide that it will produce a product already on the market more efficiently and more cost effectively. This is called cost leadership strategy. So each of these strategies requires a structures that helps the organization reach its objective. So in other words, the structure must fit the strategy. So companies that want to be the first in the market with the newest and the best product probably are organic, because organic structures permit organizations to respond quickly to changes. Of course, kung gusto mong ikaw yung manguna, ikaw yung maging bago sa business na yon, kailangan open ka for change. Kailangan magiging flexible yung type of structure ng business mo. Next is companies that elect to produce the same product and more efficiently and effectively will probably be mechanistic. So, kailangan nila na mas structured at meron silang sinusundan talaga. So, next is its environment. So, the environment in the world in which the organization operates and includes conditions that influence the organization such as economic, socio-cultural, legal, political, technological, and natural environment conditions. Environment are often described as either stable or dynamic. So, when we're talking about stable, the customer desires are well understood and probably will remain consistent for a relatively long period of time. Example organizations that face relatively stable environment include manufacturers who are providing detergent, cleaning supplies, and paper products, wherein naiintindihan na po nila yung customer nila, naiintindihan po nila kung ano yung pangangailangan ng customer nila. And alam po nila magiging consistent si customer pagdating po doon. Like with regards to detergent, so all of us is naglalaba in a monthly basis or in a weekly basis. So kailangan po talaga ng customer ng mga ganong product. So ayun yung stable environment with regards sa business. But in the dynamic environment, the customer's desires are continuously changing. Pabago-bago po. It is the opposite of stable environment. So the condition is often thought of as turbulent. So in addition, the technology the company uses while in its environment may need to be continuously improved and updated. Of course, if your market is continuously improving or continuously changing, kailangan ikaw din sa business, lagi ka din nag-innovate, kailangan nag-change ka din ng way of using technologies and such. So one good example of dynamic environment or businesses is yung mga business na with regards to technologies, yung mga gumagawa ng apps. Ang tao is naghahanap agad o nagpapalit-palit agad ng gusto. So kung kanwari, nagsawa na sila sa isang app, dati 2012, 2008 or 2012, kasagsagan ng Farmville. So sa Facebook. So nagsawa ang tao, nagkaroon ng panibagong app hanggang ngayon yung mga iba't ibang larong kinakaalikan ngayon. So kailangan pagka ganun dynamic environment, continuously ang desire ng customer mo as a business, kailangan continuous din yung pagbigay mo sa kanila ng bagong product. So question, naintindihan naman po?
Yes po.
So next is advances in technology. So advances in technology are the most frequent cause of change in organizations since they're generally result in greater efficiency and lower cost for the firm. So technology is the way tasks are accomplished using tools, equipment, techniques, and human know-how. So in the early 1960s, Joanne Woodward found that the right combination of structure and technology were critical to organization success. She conducted a study of technology and structure in more than 100 English manufacturing firms, which she classified into three categories of core manufacturing technology: small batch production, mass production, and continuous process productions. So with regards to small batch production, it is used to manufacture a variety of custom, made-to-order goods. Each item is made somewhat differently to meet customer specification. A print shop is an example of business that uses small batch production. So nakuha naman yung idea ng small batch production. So next is mass production. Mas maramihan yung ginagawa. So it's used to create a large number of uniform goods in an assembly line system. So workers are highly dependent on one another as just product passes from stage to stage until completion. So one good example is yung paggawa ng hotdog. So sa stage 1, syempre i-grind yung meat. Sabihin natin sa stage 2, doon na magmi-mix ng meat. Sa stage 3, doon ina-assemble yung product. So nagkakaroon na ng forming of shape ni hotdog. And number 4, baka doon si packaging. And lastly, doon na yung pagdi-distribute. So isang malaking linya or isang mahabang linya siya for each stages na kung saan dire-diretso lang yung paggawa ng product na yon. So sa hospitality industry, nagiging ganun na din po. Nagkakaroon na ng mass productions with regards to food. So ang gumagamit na neto mostly is si airline business. So kung saan yung mga prepared food ni guests is nagkakaroon na sila ng mass production. Kasi masyadong malaki na yung market nila para doon. And lastly, this is continuous process production. So organizations using continuous process productions create goods by continuously feeding raw materials such as liquids, solids, and gases through a highly automated system. Such systems are equipment intensive, but can often be operated by a relatively small labor workforce. Classic examples are automated chemical plant and oil refineries. So ganun na po yung labanan ngayon. Pakuntian na po ng labor force, pero ginagawa na po nilang digital o ginagawa na po nila more of a technology side. So, kasi mas mababa na po yung labor cost mo, yes, mahal po yung i-invest mong technology, but in a long run, mas maliit yung babayaran mong labor cost. So, next topic is, this is the barriers to corporate entrepreneurship. Any large company understand that their greatest challenge is to keep creating new businesses and opportunities. That's where corporate entrepreneurship plays a huge role. So we are moving away from the mindset that success can be achieved by downsizing or cutting costs. So ayun po kasi yung mga thinking ng businessman. Pagka nag-downsize ka or nag-cut cost ka, is mas magiging successful yung business mo. Pero hindi po yun yung situation. We are also beginning to understand that the path to the company growth is not just through repackaging old products and offers, blindly overtaking the competition, or expanding into newer markets. Entrepreneurship is way more than that. Technologies are rapidly changing and developing, which is why we need to have a new focus. Companies should start creating and developing new businesses through constant innovation. That's why, nung simula pa lang nung entrep natin, maririnig natin yung word na innovation. So, kailangan kasi during this time, and as time goes by, kailangan we should always innovate and innovate when it comes to everything, most especially in our products, para appealing pa rin siya to our customers. So this is the new business, new venture. So when you are part of an established business, it can be tough to start something completely new. Although you still belong to the company, the thoughts and ideas that drive your new business may be entirely different from the way your company presents work. It can be a delicate situation when you're trying to balance your main established business, the one that currently brings in almost all your revenue. With a new venture or business idea, the existing culture, processes, technologies, and support systems of your company have probably been built over the course of years and are predictable, stable, and efficient. Of course, if you are planning to make a new business, don't expect yung naging success ka niya sa business mo nung una is magiging ganun din yung same result niya with regards to this new business. So, hindi din lahat ng processes mo na in-establish sa first business mo is pwede mo siyang i-take sa first business mo. So, as the business begins to find footing and grow, its objectives become a little more clearer. So, and it may require a shift in how the company functions. These constant changes in the initial phases of new business may not sit well with the rest of the company, that it may more firm and stable in its operation. So this gives rise to the certain differences between the old and new businesses with the same company. So these are the challenges associated with corporate entrepreneurship. So kapag ka bagong business yung binabalak mong gawin, ano ba yung mga challenges nyo? Number one is lack of strong data. So new business seldom have hard data to back their products or technologies. Nakakatawang isipin pagka-establish na yung business mo. Kunwari, let's talk about hotels. Pwede mo nang balikan yung history mo, guest history mo, kung saan mataas ang dagsa ng tao sa buwan na yon. For example, ilan ba yung ginawa nating guest or natanggap nating guest during our peak season last year on December? Para ngayon, baka mas kailangan nating dagdagan or mas tataasan pa. But with regards to new businesses, wala silang data para doon. Wala silang pagbabasihan. So, that is one of the challenges with corporate entrepreneurship. Next is high risk. Nasabi din naman natin, all businesses is encountering risk. So no matter what kind of business you may be wanting to start, you will be faced with a huge amount of risks. But this is very visible in those nagsisimula pa rin ng businesses. Lahat sila is makakatanggap at makakatanggap talaga ng risk. But yung sa mga stable ng businesses, yes, nakakatanggap po sila ng risk, but they already know how to mitigate those type of risks. And lastly, balancing new and old systems. So, mapapatanong ka talaga kung ano bang effective na gamitin or kung pagsasamahin ko si new and old systems, ano bang pwede mangyari. So, it is also one challenge na nakikita in corporate entrepreneurship. So, changes and effectiveness. So, change is the only permanent thing in this world. Change is the only constant in this world also. So a change management plan can support a smooth transition and secure your employees are guided through the change journey. So the harsh fact is that approximately 70% of the change initiatives fail due to negative employee attitudes. Of course, pagka merong binago sa isang kinasanayan na natin, napakahirap nyon kasi nga nakasanayan na natin. Or hindi kaya yung ginagawa nating araw-araw, then after 2 years or in an instant, biglang babaguhin na lang. That's why most of the employees are having a hard time dahil na pagkadadaan dadaan sa stage yung business ng kailangan na nilang magkaroon ng organizational change management. So most organizations today are in constant state of flux as they respond to the fast-moving external business environment, local and global economies, and technological advancement. This means that the workplace processes, systems, strategies must continuously change and evolve for an organizations to remain competitive. So, one example is this. So, sa reservations dati, we are just using a manual type of reservation sa hotel. So, nagkaroon ng changes, madami nagreklamo. Ganito na yung nakasanayan namin. Mas madali to kasi ililista na lang namin. So, hindi naging welcome yung mga PMS, hotel services, hotel management systems dati. Pero ngayon, makikita natin na sobrang laking tulong ng property management system sa hotels. So, change affect your most important asset, your people. Losing employees is costly due to the associated recruitment costs and the time involved getting new employees up to speed. So each time an employee walks out the door, essential intimate knowledge of your business lives with them. So ayun din yung isang problem na nakikita sa business. But it is always part of your business na mag-e-employ ka ng tao at paggagastosan mo para i-train sila. But in the long run, hindi din pala sila mag-i-stay sa inyo. So, at after nun, kailangan mo na naman mag-recruit at mag-retrain na naman ulit. So, what is effective organizational change management? Number one, we should have a clearly define the change and align it to our business goals. You know, it might seem obvious, but many organizations miss the first vital step. So kaya kapag meron tayong ginagawa, kailangan inaalam natin kung ano ba yung goal natin. Pero most of the businesses right now, hindi nila ina-identify kung yung goal ba nila is kung meron ba silang goal. And kung kanwari magkakaroon tayo ng organizational change, kung yung change ba na yun is aligned sa business goal natin. So the key questions here is, what do we need to change? Ano ba kailangan natin gawin para mabago yung sistema? And next is, bakit kailangan ng pagbabago with regards to this organizational change management? Next is, we should determine impacts and those affected. So, questions like, what are the impact of change? Ano ba yung magiging impacts neto sa atin, sa ating stakeholders, sa business, sa owners, sa guests or di kaya sa ating mga employees, and who will the change affect most? Sino ba maapektuhan sobra, and how will the change be received? And next is develop a communication strategy. So although all employees should be taken on a change journey, the first two steps will have highlighted though you must absolutely communicate the change to your employees. Kailangan sinasabi natin at ini-inform natin yung guest natin na merong change na mangyayari within our organizations. Hindi pwedeng basta-basta nyo na lang din sila i-implement yung change na yun. Kasi expect nyo na meron talagang chaos pagka nagpa-implement kayo ng something na hindi nyo naman ina-announce sa kanila. So, questions like, how will the change be communicated? Paano ba natin abot sa ating mga employees na magkakaroon ng pagbabago? And how will feedback be managed? So, kung nagkaroon na tayo ng changes and ganito yung feedback ni employees, paano natin siya tatanggapin? Kung natatanggap ba nila or kung ayaw nila. So, ano yung gagawin natin? So, next is, we should provide effective training. Questions like, what behavior and skills are required to achieve business results? And what training delivery methods will be most effective? Of course, kapag nagkaroon ng changes, meron kang ipapasok na bago or meron kang ipapakita sa kanila na bago. So, sa bagong yon, kailangan meron kang training na i-provide sa kanila kung i-implement nyo yung ganung pagbabago. Next is implement a support structure. So, providing a support structure is essential to assist employees to emotionally and practically adjust to the change and build proficiency of behaviors and technical skills needed to achieve desired business results. Key question is, where is support most required? And what types of support will be most effective? So, sa amin dati, So, every 3 months or every 6 months, nagkakaroon kami ng group discussion. So, this is hotel-wide. So, all employees are required to be there. So, hindi lang po siya for department level, but it is for a whole organization wherein pinapakinggan ng organization or the management yung hinanaing ng employees nila. And one initiatives also from our general manager is dinner with our general manager wherein so 1 week kunwari na pili ka 10 employees, whether you're a rank and file, management position or executive position, magkakaroon ka ng chance kamustahan, kumain ng dinner with the general manager. Wherein yung pag-uusapan doon is more in-depth kung ano ba yung mas nakikita yung problema or yun. So, it is also a good initiatives for those business owners na at least mapapakita nyo na pinapakinggan nyo talaga yung mga empleyado nyo. Next is measure the change process. So, key questions like, did the change assist in achieving business goals? Or was the change management process successful? So, kailangan natin mini-measure yung process ng change kasi para makita natin kung naging effective ba to or hindi. So, any questions po? Wala naman po.
Wala naman po.
Okay, so I will not be discussing the political and organizational action for change. You can read this one during your asynchronous time. So, I will be giving you your activity 5. So, in-upload ko din po ito sa classroom kanina lang. So, ito po ang mangyayari. So, activity 5, case analysis of articles or published papers, or what we call understanding the analysis of scientific paper. So, the analysis of the published scientific papers will expose you as a student to a selection of empirical studies that analyze operations and management of entrepreneurial organizations' concerns and issues using the scientific method. This requires group level analysis. So, this is a group. This is not a project. This is just a activity. So for your groupings, BSHM 3-2, 4 groups consisting of 5 members, 3 groups consisting of 6 members. So saan nyo ilalagay yung groupings nyo? Names of your groups. Click this link. So list down your members in this link. Click this link. Tapos, dediretso ka na po sa dito. So, hanapin nyo lang po yung section nyo and just put your names here. So, kayo na po bahala kung sino po ang mga kagrupo nyo. Kayo po mas nakakaalam at mas kampante kung sino ang mas gusto nyong makatrabaho. So, this is the article name. This is the article link. So, this is the format of the article published. This is the format of case analysis for articles and published scientific paper. I want to see the overview of the case, a statement of the article, paper's research problem, the goals, purpose, and the significance of article paper. So, for identification of assumptions, kung meron po and applicable, lagay nyo. Kung wala, okay lang, kahit wala. So, part 5, 3 major points of agreement. Kung meron po kayo nakitang isang point of agreement, okay lang. Kung dalawa, okay lang. But for maximum points of agreement is 3. Ganun din po sa major points of disagreement. So, conclusion and recommendations is manggagaling na po sa side nyo po yan. But, part 1 to part 6 is manggagaling po sa paper. Wala pong ibang basis yung pagkukuhanan nyo kung hindi po itong article lang po na ito. So, note of this, font style times New Roman, font size 12, spacing double, and alignment justified. So, this will be the grading criteria. So, just read this one. And kung hindi po kayo familiar, magkaroon ng analysis essay and to understand scientific paper, meron po tayong references dito. You should always read this one. You can read this one para mas magkaroon po kayo ng understanding with regards to scientific paper. Any questions?
Kami na po bahala sa groupings.
Yes po, kayo na po.
Sige.
Naintindihan naman po.
Opo. Kailan po pala submission?
1 month po yan. 1 month naman. So, kung okay na po tayo sa Activity 5, let's proceed to your final examination. So, kakatapos pa lang po ng midterm exam, but I will be giving you your final examination na din po. So, for your final examination in Entrep class, I want you to make a business plan. So, nakita ko naman po sa mga stories nyo na nakagawa na po kayo ng business plan at meron na po kayong product development, meron na din po kayong marketing strategies. So, ito lang po. So, business plan. Kailangan nyo po gumawa ng business. So, it can be any hospitality service components of your choice, whether transportation, airlines, accommodation, restaurant, intermediaries, travel agencies, and or operators or MICE. So, depende po sa inyo kung ano pong sector ng business ang gusto nyong gawan. So, for your groupings, also, you can just click this link. So, magkaiba po yung groupings sa final, for this business plan and for the activity 5 po. So, your presentation should cover the following. You should read this one. Ito po yung format ko. So, this is the format for business plan. I want to see introductory page wherein you're going to introduce your business. Executive summary, this is the last part of your business because it summarizes the business plan. Industry analysis, kung ano na po yung takbo ng market sa gusto nyong balak na business. Description of business venture, including mission, vision statement, and goals, description of product and services, at about sa business na itatayo nyo. So, production plan, kung anong mga machines and equipments na kailangan nyo, kung paano magiging manufacturing process ng business nyo. Operations plan, flow of orders and goods and services, including product development, including workforce plan and quality control. Technology utilizations, kung anong mga technology ang balak nyo gamitin for your business. And marketing plan. You're aware of marketing plan? Kasi meron kayong marketing plan ngayon po,
Meron ba?
Wala. Or tapos na.
Parang tapos na po ato.
It's your already advantage kung tapos na po. So, organization of plan. So, kung paano form of ownership ang mangyayari sa inyo. And assessment of risk. So, this will be big factor in this business plan. So, gagawa po kayo ng SWOT analysis, table form, and in paragraph form po. So, contingency plans and strategies. And for financial plan po, these are all just assumptions for financial plan. So, hindi nyo po kailangan lumabas. So, kung anwari, ang naiisip yung expenses for a certain month is 50,000, you can just put 50,000. But, of course, kailangan connected siya sa pricing po ninyo. And references. Yung income statement po pala 1 month only. Hindi nyo po gagawan for whole 12 months po. And break-even analysis and 3-year sales projection for first year, second year, and third year sales projection po. And for your references, I want to see a APA guidelines po. Any questions?
Wala po.
Wala kayong tanong? Sige, ayan yung first part ng final examination nyo. Yung pinaka-business plan. But you're going to present it to me on a pre-recorded video presentation. Meaning, video po kayo kung paano, magsi-sales pitch po kayo kung paano nyo po ibibenta yung business plan nyo. Paano nyo po siya i-represent sa tao. Baka may balak na sponsoran yung business nyo para po ganon. So, duration is maximum for 30 minutes only. Hindi ko po kailangan ng mahabang video presentation ng business plan. Kung mas maikli, mas maganda. At least makukuha nyo po agad yung attention ng pagsi-sales pitch nyo. So, Ito na po yung guidelines. Presentation style. Depende na po sa inyo kung anong gagamitin yung platform. Sir, ipopost niyo po ba sa Gigas Recorded? Yes po, ipopost naman po. Recorded Gmail. Yes po, ipopost po ngayon yung recorded virtual class po. And lastly, paano po siya ipapasa? So you can just click this link, magdediretso po siya sa Google Drive, hanapin nyo lang po yung sections nyo, at doon nyo po siya i-upload. For your guide, kung hindi po kayo marunong mag-analyze ng industry, you can check this link. Kung hindi po kayo marunong mag-describe ng business venture nyo, you can click this link. So, ganun din po sa iba. So, references, kung hindi po kayo marunong mag-cite ng APA guidelines, you can use this. Any questions po?
Kailan po submission?
June 17. So, you have a 1.5 month to make this business plan po.
So parang kasabay din siya ng case analysis namin, sir.
Hindi
Na
po,
one.
ang case analysis po, 1 month lang po. Parang katapusan po ng May siya. Pero yung sa case analysis po, hindi nyo na po yun i-represent. I just want a soft copy po. But with regards to business plan, um, soft copy of PDF form ng business plan and pre-recorded video presentation po ang ipapasa nyo sa akin.
Yung sa pre-recorded po, lahat po ba ng members kailangang magsalita?
Mas maganda po.
As
Yes.
noted po.
So, yun, lagay na lang po kayo ng members nyo dito. So, sa section sa BSHM 3.1, kanina ko lang din kasi nasabi. So, ngayon nag-start na din sila maglagay ng pangalan nila. So, you have choices. There are 5 members and there is also a 6 members. So, sa 3.3, nag-start na din sila maglagay. So, please, kung alam niyo yung classmate nyo na wala namang laptop, at kung may advantage naman kayo may laptop, invite them na at least maging fair po tayo. Na at least lahat merong kakayahan po para makagawa po. Questions pa po? Wala pa kong tanong?
Wala po.
So also with regards to questioning pala. Kung may question po kayo sa business plan at nag-message po kayo sa messenger, hindi ko po kayo i-accommodate. Kung mag-message po kayo, i-post nyo po siya sa discussion po ng Google Classroom po. Para kung kanwari nagtanong si Group 1, tapos nagtanong din si Group 2 ng same questions, makikita na po nila agad-agad po yun. So, BSHM 3.2 and prep. So, ito po. If you have any questions with regards to business plan, just close it here. So, ayun lang po. Kung hindi ko po kayo papansinin sa GC or di kaya sa personal message sa Facebook kapag nagtanong po kayo ng question with regards to business plan. Just post it on Google Meet or Google Classroom stream or discussion page po. Wala pong question? Wala. So, maybe let's have at least 10 minutes break. At least makapag-break po kahit pa paano. So, let's be back around 10 o'clock. So, okay naman kahit hindi na po umalis. Sige po. Nakabalik na po ba? Di ba?
Naghahanap lang po ng groupmates.
Oo, maganda, maaga pa lang. Nagbubuo na kayo ng grupo.
Apo.
So, tanong ko lang din, kasi nag-iisip ako kung anong ipapa-exam sa inyo sa legal. Gusto nyo ba yung ganito parang advance na ibigay or written examination na lang sa final exam? So, kung advance ibibigay, baka ang magiging final exam kung mangyari is scientific paper na, case analysis. Or written exams na lang.
Iba po ba siya sa case study? Yung case
Uh,
analysis?
Medyo parehas lang but more of a mas comprehensive lang siya and mas detailed. Mas madaming aspect ang mas mapag-uusapan and mas malawak po. So si case study po kasi mostly is just 20 pages or 15 pages si case study. But in scientific papers, at least 40 pages to 50 pages po ang isang scientific paper. Kasi parang isang buong thesis po si scientific paper. But you have choice naman kung written exam na lang din.
Written exam na lang, sir.
Written na lang po. Kasi may business plan din po kami sa isang subject. For finals din.
Anong subject yon?
Ano po, ano ba yun? Ergonomics ata. Yan, ergonomics.
Same format? Sino prof nyo doon?
Si Ma'am Ivy po.
Parehas nagbigay na ng format?
Hindi pa naman po yung idea pa lang po na business plan yung parang finals namin.
Baka mangyari is parehas pa kami ng format because that is the format of Lyceum for business plan. Pero ibang factor naman ang kino-consider niya sa ergonomics. Ergonomics
Yes.
more of a planning kasi, di ba? Planning and design sa ergonomics.
Yes po.
So yun. At least pagka ganun, mas madali nang gumawa. At least pare-paras naman pala ng business plan. So maybe we can start now. Mas madaming terminologies mapag-usapan tayo dito sa legal aspect. So our topic for today is liabilities of hospitality operators. So after the completion of the chapter, you should be able to identify the rights of hotel guests. Also, your right as an employee and what are your responsibilities na kailangan ipakita sa mga guests nyo and your customers. So, table of contents, we're going to discuss duties, responsibilities of hotel operators, theories of liabilities, legal damages, accommodating guests, guest privacy, malaking factor to. Kailangan mapag-aralan natin tong guest privacy. And lastly, facility maintenance. So, duties, responsibilities of hotel operators. So, sa NTREP nga, na pag-uusapan natin yung risk. Most especially dito sa law, sa legal aspect, sa tourism law, na risk, kapag nagpapatakbo ka ng business, nandyan lagi yung risk. Hotel owners, hospitality and tourism industries, laging present, mas open, mas prone tayo sa risk and crisis. So let's define first what's risk. So risk is defined as the potential for loss or harm. This could be financial loss, damage to property, or injury to workers or guests. So understandably, most tourism hotel operators are interested in avoiding these impacts to their operation, which is why risk and crisis management is needed. So there are two main reasons for tourism hotel operators to practice risk management: to avoid injury to guests and employees, and number two is to protect their business operations from financial or physical ruin. Kasi pagka may mga risk na pumapasok sa businesses, sa mga hotel operations, or may mga accidents, incidents nangyari within your establishments, malaki po yung pananagutan ni company kung magiging liable po sila sa accidents na yon. So of course, kailangan nila magbayad ng damages for that specific accident. So keeping guests and employees safe is a moral and ethical responsibility of operators. And it includes avoiding both emotional and physical harm. Protecting business operations includes protecting against damage to property, damage to reputations, and any financial impacts occurring from litigations. When we're talking about litigations, ito po yung lawsuit. Ayun po yung mga kaso na ipapataw sa inyo. So by practicing this twofold approach, operators demonstrate that they are prioritizing the health and safety of individuals or all of its stakeholders, and while still taking steps to protect the operation and sustainability of their company. So, ayun po talaga yung pinaka-iingatan ng hotel operator. So, let's proceed to the duties. So, a hotel operator ensures that each guest has a safe and enjoyable hotel stay. So, number one factor, kailangan safe and enjoyable hotel stay ang mararamdaman ni guest. He and she must coordinate reservations, maintenance, decide on marketing initiatives for the hotel, and oversee the hotel profits and computer system. He or she must direct, hire, and train hotel employees. So, because of the wide variety of facilities hotel operators operate, they can encounter a variety of duties of care. This includes, number one, provide a reasonably safe premise. This would include all public space, the interior of hotel, guest rooms, dining rooms, and the exterior space that make up the operator's total physical facility. So kaya meron po tayo, each municipalities and each provinces have different types of codes. So fire and safety codes, um, health health and cleanliness codes, parang gano'n. So sa Makati, kailangan sumusunod tayo sa iba't ibang types of codes. Yung codes is assurance na sumusunod tayo sa direktiba ng government na binibigay ng standard. For example, lahat ng empleyado sa nahawak ng food and beverage kailangan pumasok ng medical. So it is one of the codes. So another example is sa swimming pool. So kailangan sa swimming pool mapakita nyo na kung gaano siya kalalim, meron kayong mga posting na nakalagay doon or signages. Plus, dapat meron kailangan kunwaring um, lifeguard na available 24/7 or kung kailan open yung swimming pool na yan. Next is serve food and beverages fit for the consumption. This duty of care is shared with those who supply products of food service operator and would also include the technique used by an operator to prepare and serve food or beverages. So, kailangan malinis ang pagbigay ng pagkain, pag-prepare ng pagkain. So, serve alcoholic beverages responsibly. So, yung mga future bartenders natin dyan or magsiserve ng alak, you should always be aware of this. Hindi ibig sabihin merong pera, hindi ibig sabihin may pera yung guests, is papainumin mo na sila ng papainumin. So, like in US, meron silang law na kailangan above 18 or above 21 lang yung pwede mag-consume ng alcoholic beverages. So, dito naman sa hotel sa Philippines, kung hindi na po kaya uminom ni guests, hindi na po natin sila pwede pagbentahan ng alak. So, yun po. So, hire qualified employees. This duty must be satisfied to protect yourself against charges of negligent hiring and other potential liabilities. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, napakatataas po ng qualifications ngayon pa lang. Kasi iniiwasan po nilang maging liable sila kung magkaroon man ng accidents. At least, aware and assure si hotels kapag nagtanggap silang ng qualified personnel, gagawin nila yung trabaho nakapataw sila sa kanila ng maayos. Next is properly trained employees. This duty must be satisfied to protect yourself against charges of negligent staff training. Termination of employees who pose a danger to other employees or guests. This duty must be satisfied to protect yourself against charges of negligent employee retention. And next is safeguard guest property, especially when voluntarily accepting possession of it. So, for example, ina-expect naman talaga natin na pag si guest nag-check-in sa atin, meron silang gamit, of course, ilalagay nila yun sa pinag-check-inan nilang kwarto. So, pagka lumabas sila ng kwartong yun, meron silang assurance, meron silang naiisip na pagka umalis sila ng kwarto, dapat safe yung um, yung mga gamit nila sa property na yun. So, warn of unsafe conditions when an operator is aware of conditions that pose a threat to safety. So, those conditions must be made obvious to the guest. So, for example, kung alam mo naman yung hotel mo or yung establishment mo is nakapasok sa high-risk crime na environment or na lugar, kailangan pinapaalalahanan mo lagi yung mga guest mo na mag-ingat po pag lalabas. Madami po magnanakaw, madami po snatcher, or madami po manloloko sa labas. At least you give them your reasonable care. So, questions po. Wala naman.
Wala naman po.
Okay. So, let's proceed to theories of liabilities. So, reasonable care. So, hotel operators must strive to provide an environment that is safe, and secure. For example, a hotel manager who rents a room with a lock on the door should be responsible for ensuring that the lock is in proper working order. So, kung ikaw si housekeeping attendant, you should always check doorknobs kung nagpo-function ba to ng tama bago natin ibigay sa guest. Kasi expect ni guest, pagkapasok nila doon, lahat ng makikita nilang gamit is in a working condition. So tourism and hotel operators must consider the exposure to unintentional torts, specifically negligence. So negligence can be defined as the omission to do something which a reasonable mind guided upon those considerations, which ordinarily regulate the conduct of human affairs would do, or doing something a prudent and reasonable man would not do. In other words, if the safety standards of a business fall below an established standard and injury occurs as a result, the injured person may sue for negligence. So, pursuing legal actions against an operation for negligence is a long process. So, kung may nangyaring aksidente within your establishment at gusto mo kung gusto ni guest mag-pursue ng legal action, or kung ikaw nakaranas ka ng aksidente sa pinuntahan mo at gusto mo mag-pursue ng legal action. So, ito yung mga kailangang i-consider para maging successful yung kaso mo. So, there's need to be 4 elements to be proved. Number 1 is injury. Second is duty to care. Third is breach in the standard of care. And last is causation. So, when it comes to injury, kailangan merong visible na injury na natamo mo. So, it might be physical damage such as bodily injured, or it may be damage to property. So, pagka ganon, picturean mo agad, or hindi kaya i-document mo. At least you have proof. Next is duty of care. So, this refers to the relationship between the plaintiff and the defendant. So, a relationship requiring the defending party to care for the plaintiff. For example, in tourism, there's exists relationship between hotel and guests, tour guides and tour participants, and in the academic world, instructors and students. So, the question to ask is whether it is expected that one person or organization in the relationship is responsible for ensuring that the other person is safe from reasonable harm. So, let's look closer to the Stevenson Hotel case. So the case is like this. So the Stevenson Hotel case was made famous in 1999. It still serves as a warning to the establishment serving liquor. So a hotel was held liable for 50% of the damages that occurred when it permitted a patron to drive home drunk. So the case demonstrated that the hotel had a duty of care to stop serving an already intoxicated person and to prevent the intoxicated party from driving. So akala nyo, pagka kanwari, pinainom nyo ng pinainom si guest at may mangyari sa kanya, wala na kayong liability doon or hindi na kayo responsible doon. But in law, so kanwari, kung magkakaroon ng kaso at magkakaroon ng investigations at nakitang patuloy nyo pa rin siyang sinervan ng alak na hindi na kaya ng consumption niya, so you will always held liable for that matter. Plus, sa case ni Stevenson Hotel, pinauwi pa po nila yung guest kahit alam na po nilang hindi kaya ni guest. So most of the hotels right now, yung practice po nila is kapag ka alam nilang hindi na po kaya ni guest, minsan pinapag-stay po nila sa bar nila or hanggat malipasan ng alak sa katawan. So third step, after the after showing a proof of injury and duty of care, kailangan ma-prove mo din yung breach in the standard of care. So this means that the defendant failed to work to the recognized standard. So the standard may be established by professional organizations or simply by reasonable persons test, which in an assessment of what other individuals or operations would have done in the same situation. So tourism operators are responsible for determining what current standards in industry are. Not being aware of industry standards is not been an acceptable defense in the court. So kailangan mapakita mo na hindi kanila pinakitaan ng standard of care or wala silang pakialam sa inyo. And lastly, dapat ma-prove nyo na merong causation, causation. So this means that there must be a strong link between the actions of the defendant that caused the injury to the plaintiff. So example, buy and sell v. McDonald's restaurant. So the ruling in buy and sell v. McDonald's illustrated the importance of causation. So while Mr. Buy and Sell developed colitis is a serious stomach condition. In the time following of meal at a McDonald's restaurant, he was unable to prove that the meal had caused the colitis because the testimony of his medical expert was countered with the expert testifying for McDonald's. So in short, ang nirereklamo po ni Buy and Sell dito is nagkaroon po siya ng serious stomach condition dahil after niyang pagkain sa McDonald. Pero, nung nasa korte na po sila, hindi po nila ma-prove na kaya siya nagkaroon ng serious stomach condition nang dahil lang sa McDonald. So, within that investigations, nakita nila na kumain pa pala siya sa ibang restaurant or ibang kainan pa. So, hindi mo pwedeng irason na kay McDonald's lang or i-point out na kay McDonald's lang talaga kaya nagkaroon ka ng problem with your stomach. So next slide is torts. So a tort is a wrong against an individual. So in the same way that a crime is wrong against the state. So for example, a patron who drinks too much in a bar and when drives a motor vehicle is guilty of driving under the influence of alcohol. A crime against the state if that same driver causes an accident that injures the other motorist. The intoxicated driver would be guilty of tort. That is an act that results in injury or to another. So there are two types of torts, intentional or unintentional. So with regards to intentional torts, includes assault, battery, defamation, and or intentional infliction of emotional distress. While with regards to unintentional torts, negligence, gross negligence is the most unintentional tort. So gross negligence, when an individual or organization behaves in a manner that demonstrates a total disregard for the welfare of others. So the act is deemed to be gross negligence. So let's look for the case of Croker v. Sundance Resort for torts. So the ruling in Croker v. Sundance Resorts provides an interesting examination of the element of negligent action. So the case describes an incident where a ski or snowboard resort hosted a tubing competition and allowed an intoxicated customer to participate. So anong nangyari? Nag-conduct po si Sundance Resort ng tubing competition. So at hinayaan po nila na yung isang lasing na customer is mag-participate pa sa competition na yon. So, nangyari, nagkaroon na po ng accident and the customer was paralyzed as a result. So, the resort was found to be negligent as it failed to maintain an appropriate standard of care. Damage were awarded to the plaintiff but were reduced for contributory negligence on behalf of the plaintiff. Meaning, of course, yung si Croker, siya po yung nagkaso, meron pa rin po siyang responsibility. Kung alam po naman niyang lasing siya, so that hindi na po siya sumali. But the thing is, pinayagan siya nung Sundance Resort. So, dahil doon, yung natanggap niyang compensatory damages is hindi buo. So, nabawasan po yun ng 20% of the total amount dahil responsible din naman po siya sa kinikilos niya during that time. So, another example, so for gross negligence, so hospitality industry safety risk, Texas hotel faces wrongful death and gross negligence lawsuit. So, after the after electrocution of young boy. Pool light system did not have GFCI, meet electrical code. So, ayun. So, normal na din po ito nangyayari kapag may mga swimming pool. Yung iba po kasi, nagtatayo lang sila ng swimming pool. Pero, hindi naman po pala siya pasok sa standard na sinet ng government. So, ayun po yung nangyari kay Texas Hotel. So, yung swimming pool nila is substandard, hindi pumasok sa quality of work um, ng lugar na yon. That's why nagkaroon po ng accident na yung bata po is nakuryente po habang po nangliligo. So namatay po yung bata. So Texas Hotel faces wrongful death and gross negligence. And one famous example is the case of Daybeck v. McDonald. With regards to Leivek v. McDonald, this happens in 1994. So ito po yung sikat na cases dahil this is the issue of hot coffee. So what are we expecting pagka umorder po tayo ng hot coffee?
Hot.
Yes, it is hot. Tama po. 'Di ba? Pagka umorder po tayo ng hot coffee, expected po natin is hot coffee yung matatanggap po namin. So si Leivek yung nagkaso. So si Leivek umorder po ng coffee sa drive-thru ng McDonald's. Si McDonald's binigay po siya sa drive-thru. So hawak na po ni Leivek yon, yung coffee. Habang nagde-drive si Leivek, habang tumatakbo yung sasakyan ni Leivek, natapon po sa kanya yung coffee. So sa hita niya at sa genitalia niya, napaso po siya. So pumunta po siya ng ospital, nagkaroon po siya ng 3rd-degree burns, wherein 8 days po siyang na-hospitalize, and within 2 years span of ano ba tawag doon? 2 years span of recovery. So anong nangyari? Siningil po niya si McDonald's. Nag-demand po siya ng $20,000 for medical expenses and damages kasi hindi po siya nakapasok sa trabaho. So ang sabi po ni McDonald's, hindi po kami magbibigay ng ganyang presyo. So what we can offer to you is only $800 lamang po. So ang laki po ng gap, $20,000 yung ine-expect ni Leivek, pero yung ino-offer lang ni McDonald's is $800. So si Leivek, pinursu niya ang kaso kay McDonald's. So during the case, sobrang galing ng lawyer ni Leivek during that time because nakita po nung lawyer ni Leivek na McDonald's is serving 180 to 190 degrees Celsius of temperature of hot coffee. So meaning to say, mainit po yun. So the normal serving of coffee is around 135 degrees to 150 degrees Celsius. Ayun po yung standard sa hospitality. Most of the Most of the restaurants around McDonald's during that time are only serving 160 degrees Celsius. It is also okay. Kasi, kunwari, matapon man sa'yo yun, meron ka pang 3 seconds para punasan yun at doon pala mag-effect yung init ng coffee yun. But, with regards to 180 to 190 degrees Celsius, pagka natapon po sa balat nyo yun, automatically, 3rd degree burn na po talaga ang makukuha nyo. So yun po yung nakita ng lawyer. So after that, tapos na po yung cases. Sa jury, nagkaroon po ng jury decision. So ang decision po ng jury, kailangan po magbayad ng McDonald's kay Leivek. So with regards to compensatory damages, nakatanggap po siya ng kailangan po magbayad ni McDonald's ng $200,000 para sa compensatory damages. But dahil 20% liable din naman si Laybeck, nabawasan po yung compensatory damages. So naging 160,000 na lang po. Of course, meron pong um, liability si McDonald's. Nagbayad po siya 160. And meron din naman pong liability sa side ni Laybeck. But with regards to compensatory, meron pa pong additional. Ayun po yung tinatawag na punitive or punitive damages. Ito po yung additional compensatory. So, ito na po yung karagdagang bayad sa kanya ng McDonald's. So, si Laybeck po is nakatanggap ng around $2.6 million for that incident. So, overall, nakatanggap po si Laybeck ng $3 million po. So, after that case, ang naging practice na po ni McDonald's is serving coffee na lang temperatures nila is 135 to 150 degrees Celsius na lamang po. So, kung possible pa rin po ba siyang ikaso for this time, hindi na po dahil madami na pong policies and regulations na in-apply si McDonald's because of that case. So, next is strict liability. So, those who engage in the activity are judged not by their actions, but by the nature of the activity itself. So, which creates absolute or strict liability. So, in the hospitality industry, the greatest operational threat imposed by strict liability is that they involve with the serving of food and beverages. So, recently, the courts have more often begun using the doctrine of strict liability to penalize those who sell defective food and beverages. So, normal practice pagka nasa banquets and events dati, because masyadong malaki yung sineservan na numbers of guests mo. So, if you have 100 to 200 or kahit sabihin natin 500 guests yan, so malaki yung allotted time for preparation of that food. So, for batches, kunwari, nagluto sila ng menudo, sabihin natin menudo. Sa first batch na yun, kailangan nagtatabi sila ng portion of food. So, kung kunwari may magreklamo dahil sa food poisoning yun, meron silang mapapadalang sample for that specific batch of food. So, ganun din po sa iba't ibang pagkain. So, magandang practice yun na ini-implement ng hotel. At least, kung magkakaroon ng problema, meron silang may papakita at mas mapapakita. Next is intentional acts. So, if the employees of an innkeeper intentionally invade the privacy of guests, so, the innkeeper is subject to severe liability, including punitive damages. So, yung mga future housekeeper attendant natin dyan, if you want to pursue in housekeeping department, so, one factor lang din to. So, don't put camera na para bosohan yung guests. Minsan, meron talaga mga instances na may mga employees na nagsiset ng cameras doon sa rooms ng guests natin. So wag po natin yung gagawin. So malaking reputation damage ang mangyari sa hotel niyon pagka nagkataon. And also for you at makukulong ka pagka ganyan. So crime against guests. The court in many jurisdictions have encountered that if violent acts previously occurred on property, or even if the property is in the high crime zone, an incident and resulting injury could be considered foreseeable. Hence, the operator might be held responsible if it failed to use reasonable care in managing the establishment. For example, kung alam na po ni operator na high crime rate ang vicinity ng kanyang establishment at biglang kanwari na-kidnap si guest o hindi kaya nanakawan si guest, kung wala pong security measures na nilagay si hotel operators doon, like security guards, or hindi man lang siya naglagay ng CCTVs, o hindi niya pinailawan yung vicinity ng kanyang hotel, so magiging held liable pa rin po si hotel operators doon. Kasi hindi siya nagpapakita ng reasonable care para sa kanyang guests. And lastly is negligence per se. So when a rule of law is violated by the operator, such violation of rule of law is considered to be so far outside the scope of reasonable behavior that the violator is assumed to be negligent. So, kung ano po yung nakalagay sa batas, kung kailangan kanwaring nire-require ng batas na magkaroon ng 13 CCTVs at kung wala pong 13 CCTV si hotel operator, magiging liable po siya because meron na pong pinatakbong batas with regards to that one. So, any questions po?
Wala naman po.
So, I will not be discussing these legal damages, accommodating guests, and others. I will let you review and prepare for your examinations later. Okay na din yun. Mayroon tayong na-discuss kay paano for today. So, wala na din pong questions?
Wala na naman.
Clear naman po sa iba? So, na-post ko na din po ang activities nyo for legal aspect. Yung make your own rules and regulations. It is a policies. So, kayo po bahala kung anong pong policies ilalagay nyo doon. And reminder, kasi may nabasa akong comment yung sa yung sa Google form, yung how is my teaching. May nabasa po ako doon na ang dami ko daw pong magpa-activity. 4 pa lang po yung pinapa-activity ko, pang 5 pa lang po ito. Tapos meron po siyang sinabi na 4 na activity daw po ginawa niya sa isang linggo sa subject ko. How come? Simula po week 1 hanggang midterm, 4 pa lang po yung activity. It means hindi po agad ginagawa in advance. So, yun po. Palala, gawin niyo po advance yung activities at least hindi po kayo natatambakan. So, kung wala na din pong questions, thank you for listening and good luck to your examinations later.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.